When remembering days such as this, one cannot more but honor and respect those who laid down their precious lives for the independence of our country. The 4th May will always go down as a day on which many innocent civilian Namibians were massacred and murdered by the then South Africa regime forces, who in a trigger-happy manner has killed so many, amongst them, majority of them that were women, elderly, children, who fled this country because of the repressive laws the colonial masters imposed on us. And it is perhaps the sin that the South African regime has seen our people committed is for them having yearned to the freedom of our country. They had to pay with their precious lives on that fateful day, and therefore this day will always remain very important in the history of Namibia, our liberation struggle history, where we will continue to honor and pay tribute to them because their blood waters our freedom.
Indeed, Honourable. Now, 44 years down the line, which are the key lessons that we can draw from that day?
The lessons that can be drawn from that day is that Namibians are brave, the brave sons and daughters of Namibia took it upon themselves and put their lives in danger at all cost, because the aim was for the independence of our country. Our people across the 4 corners of our country and from all walks of life stood together in unity to fight and liberate our country. They selflessly participated in this bitter and long struggle to bring about the independence of our country. Our people, in a united manner, patriotism were those that has held us together in order to fight and bring about the independence of our country.
Now, notwithstanding the reality of the long and bitter struggle for our independence, notwithstanding the reality of dark days such as the 4th of May 1978, some people, and one doesn't want to take it for granted that it's only young people, it could be older people as well, still struggle with the concept of veteran, and moreover what it takes in terms of requirements to be classified as a veteran. Please talk to us about that.
Well, as per the Act of 2000, the Veterans Act, and as amended, as promulgated in 2008 and amended in 2013, we define the one that is to be recognized as a veteran of the liberation struggle. Any Namibian who participated politically, diplomatically, and or in the underground activities in furtherance of the liberation of our country, or those who, because of their participation in the liberation struggle, were convicted of an offense closely related to the struggle, but of course not to those who defected the liberation struggle, unless such persons rejoined the struggle up until its logical conclusion. So these are the criteria that are considered or that are in place in considering those that are to be accorded the veteran status. Such person must have participated in the struggle consistently and persistently in order to be recognized as a veteran of the liberation struggle.
Thank you. Now, it's been more than 15 years, in fact close to 16 years, since the establishment of the ministry. Please talk to us about the initiatives that the ministry has embarked upon in aid, in assistance, in honouring of our veterans.
The Ministry of Defence and Veterans Affairs, as rightly pointed out, is mandated, is having the mandate to look after the well-being of the veterans of the liberation struggle, address their plight. And so the programs initiated are those to look at the well-being development of our veterans in terms of providing to them financial assistance. And such financial assistance take forms of when someone is recognized as a veteran of the liberation struggle. The first point we start is giving them what we call a lump sum, once-off payment. And this once-off payment consider different categories of veterans, namely depending on the duration such veteran has been in the liberation struggle. So we have two different categories, those that are given 50,000 Namibian dollars once off, or those category that did not spend too long and are given 20,000 Namibian dollars once off. Apart from that, veterans are also benefiting from what we have as a monthly subvention in order to help them to address their basic needs, given 2,200 per month until the Heavenly Father calls them. Also, what we have is the improvement of welfare program that is mainly meant for those that were militarily trained and were deployed as combatants, and all those who were political prisoners, those held at former Robben Island or Kaikanahap. These are the groups that benefit from that improvement of welfare program. Other programs are such as the assistance given to the families of the veterans when they are deceased, in order to give them a befitting burial, a dignified burial, because of the recognition they are given as people whose contribution has brought about our independence. We also look at financial assistance regarding the medical treatment, especially for the ailments that our veterans are having but are unable, or the state health facilities are unable to provide for that. The ministry thus facilitate such treatment from the private health facilities.
Thank you, Honourable. Just very briefly, if one has regard to the requirements to be deemed a veteran, also the very comprehensive initiatives and programs that the Ministry has in place for our veterans, what happens in the event of a veteran complying with all those requirements, but who at the moment is gainfully employed? Does he or she still qualify for all those benefits?
Thank you very much for that question. Looking at making the programs sustainable, of course, preference is being given to those that are either unemployed or, if employed, and beyond the breadline. And therefore, those that are still gaining through the employment or are still employed can only join the program after maybe retirement or loss of job. Then they too do qualify to come and join the queue.
And Minister Frans Kapofi recently in the National Assembly announced that in order to address the backlog of programs to continue assisting our veterans, we need, as a government, in excess of 2 billion Namibia dollars. Please talk to us about that.
The program of funding the individual veterans projects, as we call, is one of the programs of our ministry aimed at addressing the needs of the veterans of the liberation struggle. That requires, of course, a lot of money. The law or the regulations of our act, regulating the act, which provides for veterans to be able to apply for assistance in terms of them coming up with economic activities. The requirements provides for that they could apply up to maximum 200,000 Namibian dollars. Now, when the veterans went to submit such applications, most of it, of course, aiming at that maximum amount. It runs into billions of dollars. However, the ministry, because of also the outcry of many of our veterans that they are aging, some of them are unable to run economic activities, and instead they then approach the government to relook into the program and to rather pay cash to them instead of funding for the projects. A request that our government again also welcomed with open hands, and as we talk, Cabinet has approved of this cash payment. We needed that approval because the regulations did not provide for cash payment, but rather funding for the project through the service providers. But as I'm saying, government met the veterans halfway, and has now embarked upon cash payment to the veterans of the liberation struggle, also to an amount that government felt would be meeting still the needs.
Thank you very much, Honourable. Just in conclusion, perhaps a final message on Cassinga Day, as we remember the 4th of May 1978.
My final words would really that I call on all of us as Namibians as we remember this fateful day, the day on which many of our Namibians, fellow Namibians laid down their lives, that we rededicate ourselves, particularly in terms of continuing to build a united nation. A nation where all of us, and a country where all of us will continue to enjoy peace and stability, democracy, and a Namibia where we would see prosperity for all Namibians.